Hi everyone, I'm Anne Riddell and welcome to Arts in the City. The Frick Collection is one of New York City's most beloved museums, and after a nearly 5-year, $220 million renovation, it has finally reopened. Our Neil Rosen gets a first look at this Gilded Age gem.
After a 5-year meticulous restoration and renovation, at a cost of over $200 million, the Frick Museum is back. This opulent Gilded Age home, which opened in 1914 as the private residence of Henry Frick and his family, houses some of the world's greatest works of art. Hundreds of paintings by such masters as Rembrandt, Vermeer, and Goya line the walls of its many ornate rooms. Frick, who made his enormous fortune in the steel industry, built his magnificent mansion on New York's Upper East Side. At the turn of the 20th century, Fifth Avenue was lined with many huge estates. It was the home to New York's wealthiest, like the Vanderbilts and the Astors. After Henry Frick's death, his daughter, Helen Clay Frick, increased the collection and opened its doors to the public in 1935. Visitors were not only dazzled by the artworks on the walls, but also by the many luxurious rooms in the mansion itself. Today, almost all of the many mansions that existed back then in New York have been demolished, but the Frick still remains. And with the new renovation, it's an eye-popping thing to behold. Painstaking restoration work has made the place look like it did when the Frick family and their many servants lived there in the early 1900s. And not only is the artwork priceless, but the lush home itself is a masterpiece. Amy Yang is the curator at the Frick.
Probably the most important thing to know about this renovation is the priority was to preserve what people love about the Frick. So for some people, that is the historic galleries on the ground floor. These we've really not touched very much, with the exception of improving systems, things you don't see, lighting, etc. The biggest difference, I think, for the art-loving public is that for the very first time in the history of the museum, one can go up to the second floor, which had been the private quarters of the family. People can go up the grand staircase or take an elevator up to the second floor and experience an entire part of this mansion that hasn't been accessible before, with the art collection as well. And it's very rare to have a building that is cared for like this in today's day and age. The investment actually went into things like the reweaving of the silk wall hangings, which is it's a great expense that not a lot of institutions are willing or able to invest anymore. But it really does make the house feel like a house, having the kind of furnishings that the Frick family had chosen to be living in. It was a little bit of a balancing act of recreating historic rooms that the family lived in, allowing the history of the family to be part of the experience of the house, but not be overshadowing the art collection. One of the ideas that came up as a it's now or never kind of idea as we were entering into the renovation was to restore the boucher room, which had originally been on the second floor. It was the boudoir of Mrs. Frick, to return it to its original place on the second floor. When we opened to the public in 1935, that whole room was actually moved down to the ground floor so that the public could access it. It's a very arduous process to move piece by piece an entire 18th century French room. The number of specialists who were involved in this, from people who do pigment analysis, to specialty carving of wood carving, to moving every single piece of the 18th century French parquet floor, one piece at a time, to all of this restoration, also included really fine details of what had been in those rooms, including the wall hangings that had to be rewoven, including the drapes, and we were very fortunate to be able to access expert makers who have been in business still making these really specialized detailing and objects, some of them who had made them first for the Frick family in 1914. What the result is, though, is the boucher room feels like an entirely different room. It goes back to this feeling of privacy and intimacy.
New additions to the Frick, where the old meets the new, include a 218-seat auditorium, which can serve as a performance space or used for lectures, as well as a vibrant modern staircase, an upper lobby, a new hallway that connects to the Frick Art Research Library, which is free and open to the public, plus the beautiful gardens that surround the outside of the property have also been fully restored. For more information about the Frick Collection, visit them at their website at frick.org for hours of operation and to buy tickets. At the Frick Collection on 5th Avenue and 70th Street in the beautiful Garden Court. For Arts in the City, I'm Neil Rosen.
The High Line is one of the city's most popular parks, whether you're going for a stroll or just taking a break from the bustling streets below. But it also showcases some incredible contemporary art. Our Andrew Falzone shows us some of its standout pieces.
In and of itself, the High Line is already a masterpiece. Elevated above New York City's bustling roadways, it offers pedestrians an opportunity unimpeded by crosswalks or corner traffic cops. Where travel is only by foot, it's an environment so serene that even the otherwise frustrating congestion of cars becomes a hypnotic attraction.
Curating for a public space is very different because we don't have a roof above our head, most importantly, and we don't usually have walls. But actually, these are challenges that usually artists love to engage with and to kind of push their practice to another level.
Cecilia Alemani is chief curator of the High Line and has been since 2011, the same year the High Line extended from 20th to 30th Street. While the High Line is a public park owned by the City of New York, it's operated by Friends of the High Line, a private conservancy. While the High Line funds the commissions almost entirely with private donations, the works remain property of the artists. That means they can be loaned out to other institutions after their time on the High Line, providing those artists with vital income streams to help continue their work.
What we really care about is that working on the High Line is a way of pushing their career forward and pushing their comfort zone too.
Like Afro-Brazilian artist Rosanna Paulino, who often weaves ethnic and gender issues through a scientific lens, is in her High Line commission entitled The Creation of Creatures of Day and Night.
She's representing these female figures. They are like hybrid metamorphic figures that merge within mangrove trees. But in this case, she's also portraying the transition between day and night. If you look at the background of the mural, it goes from a lighter kind of orange, yellow, all the way to the night.
Contrasting the monumental nature of Paulino's work is fossil psychic stone mimicry by Kirsten Bratch, who typically creates with paint.
She created a wonderful bench onto which you can, and you're allowed and you're welcome to sit. It's completely covered by mosaics. And for her, the idea was to ask the viewer, what is a painting for you? Like, we think a painting is oil on canvas or acrylic on canvas, but can actually painting be a mosaic? Can a painting be a stained glass, a window in a church? And then there's a beautiful pine tree that sprouts from within.
As if to herald the arrival of warmer seasons, Teresa Solar Aboud created Birth of Islands.
Sometimes artists are very smart to use color because they know that most of the High Line is very much green in the summer, and she decided to use these bright yellow and orange hues that really stand out, both as you look at the piece from the High Line and from the street below.
And not far away is London native Ty Shani's composition entitled The Sun is a Flame That Haunts the Night.
Ty wanted to pick this space because you could see these three candles together. The candles are rendered in a way that is almost cartoonish.
Perhaps the most whimsical piece contributes both in form and function, Foot Fountain Pink by Argentine Mika Rottenberg, an irreverent reimagining of a fountain you'd find in a town square, and while it won't be in Columbus Circle anytime soon, it will help Highliners cool off all summer long with its interactive pedal-propelled fountain.
Just when you thought you couldn't get enough of them here in New York City, there is a substantial pigeon sculpture here on the High Line for summer 2025. And while you might think the title would be Pigeon, at 17 feet tall, this behemoth is called Dinosaur.
Everybody in New York has an opinion about pigeon. You either love them or hate them, but it's also a very much, it's a truly New York creature that people really associate with our city.
Created by Colombian artist Iván Argote, Dinosaur is the fourth in the Highline's iconic plinth series of monumental-sized works. The massive aluminum pigeon sculpture is hand-painted and casts a gaze reminiscent of its Triassic ancestors.
So if you'd like to come see some of the art in today's story for yourself, good news, it'll be here on the Highline until at least the fall of 2025. I'm Andrew Falzone for Arts in the City.
Next, Donna Hanover heads uptown to the Bronx Museum to check out an exhibit that's all about sharing knowledge and using art to do it.
The Bronx Museum has gone cutting edge for its exhibit, Working Knowledge.
Doo-wop, bebop, the groove of the street. Heartbeat of the Bronx, ain't nothing so sweet.
This creation by Stephanie Dinkins is called BronxBot, and it was built using AI.
And so you can walk
The
around.
museum's director of curatorial programs, Eileen Jang Lynch, says they often present artists who use new technologies that help people interact with art. The idea is to share knowledge, especially when it highlights the Bronx.
At the core of what we do is really thinking about the community, the local community. We're all very excited about it.
Another artist used a different technology. Guest curator for the exhibit, Vera Pedikova, explains.
This work is Cosmiage, created by Ari Melanciano. She created this work using motion capture technology. So she captured herself dancing, then translated it to animation. She is reflecting different dance and sound traditions from the Pan-African diaspora. When you sit down in front of it, you feel immersed in those traditions.
This installation is called Dance Poem Revolution. It's based on a popular game called Dance Dance Revolution, where you make music depending on where you step. In this case, you write a poem depending on where you step, choosing words under specific arrows, which are then printed out over here. Now, some people decide to step randomly and just let the fates write the poem.
This is a work created by Melanie Hoff. She worked with local researchers and cultural producers from the Bronx and asked them, what does revolution mean to you? They provided her with various sources, written materials, songs, videos, and she turned that into a set of data that was fed into the game. And then you see that as the scrolling words coming down the screen that you then use to build your poem.
The Working Knowledge exhibit was done in partnership with Visions 2030, which believes that art can help change society. Founder Carrie Lovelace says they call it social sculpture.
The artist intervenes as almost like a problem solver to interact with a challenge or some kind of struggle in society to sort of possibly present a solution. A good example of that is BronxBot. It was built with the community here in the Bronx. They fed it their stories, and it created 3 different personas that represent the Bronx. On the far right is an indigenous persona. In the middle is a kind of doo-wop persona, which is sort of the 40s, 50s, and to the far left is the present day, sort of hip-hop culture. They will ask you questions, but you can also ask it questions too.
You're being interviewed by CUNY TV.
What do you think?
Lights, camera, action, but it ain't no fiction. Life's a story that ain't up for prediction. Do the viewers get the real or the friction?
For real, BronxBot has a serious purpose.
As it interacts with each person who comes, it builds its database, which will actually be fed into the grand database of the world so that it helps shape little by little what we are drawing from for AI in general.
Another installation is called Rooted from artist Mary Mattingly, who highlights various plants found in the Bronx and even has a foraging guide and free seed packets. And all of the signage for the installations is special too.
This is a typeface designed by Lin Yun. especially for this exhibition, Working Knowledge. The typeface is called Concourse. And so,
After Grand Concourse?
Yes, after Grand Concourse, exactly.
The artist worked with the museum's 2024 Teen Council to get inspiration.
They went throughout the city and collected or took pictures of images that inspired them from various storefronts, from Yankee Stadium, from graffiti that they see, and came back, and you can see here the teens are working with her.
The typeface and signage are in both English and Spanish. The exhibit runs through July 6th.
Really wanted it to feel like a reflection of the Bronx, and I wanted it to be accessible, interactive, engaging, so people are coming in and they are giving something to this exhibition and also learning from it.
Another nice thing to know, the Bronx Museum has free admission. I'm Donna Hanover for Arts in the City.
Turning a passion for toys into a one-of-a-kind collection. Our intern, Edison Ruiz, heads over to the Museum of Nostalgia in Queens, where a unique love of the past is on full display.
For years, toy collecting has filled the shelves and hearts of collectors Phoebe Taylor and Jeb Sapala. In 2021, they shared their dream of opening a toy store or museum on HGTV's Cash in the Attic. 2 years later, that dream became a reality.
If the pandemic hadn't happened, I don't know if we would be in this situation right now, because we would have continued on with the careers that we were working on full time, and I don't think we would have pivoted this way, and then because we didn't have time to sit around and think about it.
The Museum of Nostalgia isn't just an assortment of toys customers can buy and admire. It's also filled with the joy and excitement of childhood. A museum highlight is a replica of a retro living room, which transports visitors back to the 1980s with old cartoons playing on the TV, recreating the magic of a typical Saturday morning.
The idea is you can look at all this stuff and maybe you love that thing over there. You can take it home with you. I have felt a lot of times in toy shops, it's just something hanging on a shelf.
Laughter, smiles, and conversations fill up the Museum of Nostalgia with voices of different generations. While toys get passed along, so do memories, stories, and new traditions.
It's really cool to see families bond over things. Sometimes even grandparents come in and say, I remember buying this for my kid, and now my kid is a parent, and so I want to buy this now for my grandkid.
In more than 20 years of living in Astoria, Taylor says she has never felt like part of the community until the Museum of Nostalgia. The museum has hosted multiple events, such as a meet and greet with the Transformers voice cast and the Garbage Pail Kids themed art show, with more free community events planned.
We want to be a safe space for all types of people to come in, that people feel welcome to just come in, look around. They don't feel pressured to buy anything.
The popularity and inventory of the Museum of Nostalgia is growing, and so are the owners' ambitions. They hope to make a name for the museum in New York City's bustling film and television industry, and are exploring the idea of turning it into a nonprofit.
Because we really do believe in helping people learn about lifestyles and toy lines and popular culture from the recent past, and I feel like maybe we'd like to expand on that, in terms of the education side of things. But I want people to be as informed as possible at everything that they're looking at.
At the Museum of Nostalgia, not only do customers fill their hands with beloved toys, but also their hearts as they take a trip down memory lane, rediscovering pieces of themselves they didn't think they had lost. I'm Edison Ruiz for Arts in the City.
Next, another story from our interns. This past season was the highest grossing in Broadway history. But for many New Yorkers, ticket prices feel out of reach. Vincent Allen, intern for Theater, All the Moving Parts, has some insider tips on seeing shows without breaking the bank.
Broadway had its highest grossing season ever this year, $1.8 billion. And that was propelled by the high individual ticket prices. In other words, people spent a lot of money. We all know Broadway can be expensive, but what a lot of people don't realize is that there are a number of programs, legit easy to use and even digital that can get you into Broadway, off-Broadway, and off-Broadway shows for under $50. I know a spot that's been helping New Yorkers for over 50 years. Actually, it's right behind me. You didn't think this was just a selfie spot, did you? The Theater Development Fund, or TDF, manages the iconic TKTS booth in Times Square, where you can score same-day tickets for up to 50% off. But TDF's membership program is really where the best deals are. I sat down with Andrew Block, who helps manage partnerships for TDF.
We really believe in making theater more accessible and easier for people to attend. So, whether that be breaking down financial barriers or awareness, just simple awareness about what's out there, or, mobility issues, we do everything we can to kind of break that sort of stigma of like theater is just for the elite and not for me. And we make sure that everybody has it at their fingertips.
Can you walk us through the membership programs?
Yes. So of all the programs we have, membership is our, I guess, biggest and most robust. It's just $42 an annual fee for the year, and that gets you access to really, really, really deep, steep discounts to Broadway shows, off-Broadway shows, opera, theater, dance, indie theater, you name it. As an artist, you can be eligible, but we have categories for retirees, we have categories for freelancers, we have categories for anyone who works in the nonprofit sector, we have categories for arts professionals, we have categories anybody under 30, students, you name it.
Let's talk about price. So, how much do tickets typically cost through the TDF membership program, and how far in advance can people buy them?
So Broadway shows typically range from $51 up to $60. But everything that is off Broadway, and opera and dance and all of that stuff, those tickets start at $11. And check your TDF membership daily and often. We have some shows that have weeks of shows in advance, but sometimes we'll have things for that night that come out. Like certain hot shows, they may just give like a small allotment of something, but people can just go on there and grab them.
For perspective, in the run-up to this year's Tony Awards, all 5 shows represented in the Best Actress in a Musical category were at one point available to TDF members. Remarkable access to Broadway's top shows. So next time you think live performance is out of reach, think again. For Arts in the City and Theater All the Moving Parts, I'm Vincent Allen.
Food that connects history and culture in every bite. We stopped by TSION Cafe in Harlem, featuring Ethiopian and Israeli cuisine with a distinctly New York City twist.
So today we're gonna make teklil gomen, kaulo, or cabbage music to my mouth, which is very—
Music to my mouth?
Yes, that's the English version of it that I called, because it's crunchy, aromatic, and delicious.
Okay. Chef Bijay Barhani is in many ways a typical New Yorker, a high-energy swirl of cultural cross-sections.
I'm an Ethiopian, Israeli New Yorker that live in Harlem, and I want to encompass and celebrate all of this identity and heritage via food. So for me, I have a great pride on my Jewishness, my heritage, my Ethiopianness.
That pride and celebration led to a nonprofit showcasing the culture of Ethiopian Jews, a restaurant, TSION Cafe, and now a cookbook featuring more than 100 recipes heavily spiced with stories and history.
Gursha is not only recipes. Gursha is packed with tradition, stories, immigration, resilience of my community. And of course, there is a lot of delicious recipes that intertwine of a person immigrating to a new country and trying to make something out of nothing.
Bijay opened TSION Cafe in 2014. Located in Sugar Hill, the building was once home to Jimmy's Chicken Shack, a Harlem institution.
Throughout the Harlem Renaissance, this particular 763 St. Nicholas Avenue venue used to be Jimmy's Chicken Shack. Actually, it's all written in the autobiography of Malcolm X, that he worked here as a waiter, and meanwhile he encountered with Red Fox, the comedian, and then Billie Holiday will perform, and then Charlie Parker, listening to the great piano player Art Tatum. So a lot of powerful human being that impacted us in terms of everybody, and the civil rights movement and everything else throughout history, walked through those doors.
Art and music are still regulars here.
It's all about the art of cooking, the art of music, the art of painting, photography, writing, and the art of now finishing a cookbook. So it's all within the art.
This is beautiful.
And it's all plant-based.
It's all plant-based. Oh my gosh, you have to walk me through what each one is.
Will do, but you know, your star, of course, is the cabbage.
Yes, well, because I helped.
Yeah, you did.
For Bijay, food is much more than what we eat.
I think food is an easy way to digest and interact and have a dialogue between people who may not have an understanding of you or your culture. Gursha is the act of feeding one another, showcasing love, friendship, respect.
And suddenly, a meal becomes the bridge between strangers and friends.
Let's end our chin. Cheers.
That is our show for today. Thanks so much for joining us. A quick reminder to check us out on our CUNY TV app and on social media. We'd love to hear from you. I'm Anne Riddell. We'll see you next time on Arts in the City.